Hey team, Angus, Strachan here, and welcome to the Film Slice podcast. I'm here, as always, with my co-hosts, Cane Dogs and Broadman.
Hello.
And we are still in isolation, people. How are you doing over there on the other side of the world?
Yeah, it's pretty good here over in Iceland. Don't know why I was here for the quarantine. I've got no family, friends, or job opportunities here.
It's no different to here.
Vacation. But,
It's good. Cane Dogs, you doing well?
Yeah, look, I've got 3 jobs now, so I'm like the least going through this person on the planet right now.
The least isolated.
Yeah.
You're the spreader. You're the Rona spreader.
I'm not. I don't
the
have
super
it.
spreader.
I don't have it.
All right, lads, Film Slice podcast, we always try to stay ahead of the curve, we always try and find that, that magic movie, that magic show before anyone else does.
New thing.
Try and, that new thing. So with that in mind, this week we are reviewing a little show called The Mandalorian, and not a lot of people probably know about this one.
It's kind of a hidden gem.
It's an up and comer.
I think it's really gonna go well. The Mandalorian was released about 5 months ago, and we've decided to review it.
And hold on, it was released about 5 months ago, and me and Brody went, "Let's review it," and you went, "No," and now we're reviewing it.
I feel like this is just a shameless attack on your part, Cane Dogs.
It is. It absolutely 100%. It is 100%.
I just see the malice right there, and thanks.
100%.
Thanks for making me feel great.
Is.
really helping me in this.
It's a watch for me.
Awesome. Again, I think the threshold is super low. If you've got Disney Plus, watch it. I'm gonna say though, don't buy Disney Plus just for this, because it's probably not worth it in the long run. I would say use their 7-day free trial and just smash it out. Because there's nothing else that's really good on Disney Plus besides Disney movies. If you really like Disney movies, then you can.
There's all of Marvel and Star Wars as well. So if you want to be watching all of that, but you probably own it somewhere or probably seen it many times.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with Disney Plus is generally I like to own the movies that I really like. And so all of the superhero movies and stuff I kind of have in hard copy anyway, so there's not really a reason for me to get Disney Plus. Just a little side note there for Disney Plus there. Cane Dogs, is this a watch or not for you?
Yeah, look, I agree with both of you. For me, this is a massive watch. I loved the show, but it's really the only thing on Disney Plus that I've watched since getting it. So if you have another way to obtain this, legally or illegally, I endorse it. Do that instead. But yeah, this show is a
Film Slice
watch.
podcast doesn't, but Jordan Kane does.
Absolutely does.
I think it's only 6 episodes or 8 episodes.
I think there's
8 episodes. Yep.
Yeah, 8 episodes.
And most of them are about the half hour mark as well.
Yeah. So it's not a strenuous binge watch. I managed to polish it off in 2 days. Definitely doable in the 7-day free trial. I would heavily recommend doing that. Cool. I guess we better head into any cinema dicks before we get into the nitty gritty part. Watching it at home, boys. Any cinema dicks rock up?
I was watching this when it was coming out week by week, and that's a cinema dick for Disney. Is releasing it 1 week at a time per episode. In this world where everything just kind of gets uploaded in one bang, especially since it was an entirely online release.
And they're half-hour episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think, just in general, I think that you should, you kind of lose interest if it comes out week by week now. When it was the olden days and people were watching things on TV, they were kind of used to waiting for it and everything. But now with so much media and everything always in our face, I feel like if you're waiting a full week for it, you kind of forget about it because you just move on to something else.
It only really worked for Game of Thrones because Game of Thrones had hour-long episodes. So you'd finish an hour and you'd be like that's a significant chunk of time. And so it was kind of okay to wait for a week.
And it was the sort of
kind
show...
of content that Game of Thrones had was very heavy and emotional where you almost needed that break.
Of that, but also it was the kind of show where there'd be a lot of speculation. So, like, this is the sort of show that brings up questions with Game of Thrones. So that after you got a week of talking to your friends about what's going to happen next. The Mandalorian doesn't have that. You don't need to watch an episode of The Mandalorian and then speculate what's going to happen next. It's pretty straightforward.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Cane Dogs, any cinema dicks?
I do indeed have a cinema dick. So, I went to watch this third time round, with my dad, because he likes westerns and things like that, and he's okay with sci-fi. So I was like, hey, we should watch this. And he was like, yep. And we watched 2 episodes, and then he just stopped watching them with me, and now I just don't get to spend any time with my dad. Side note, he was going to make a letterbox, and I said, hey, how about we make it together? And then the next day, he'd finished making it. So, passive aggression to my dad, but cinema dick. Cool. Still pretty fresh.
He also left 2 weeks ago to get some milk from the store and hasn't come back.
Also,
just like mine.
Yesterday, another side note, and you guys heard this, but my parents made some pikelets yesterday for everyone, the whole household to enjoy. And me and my girlfriend came home that night, and Dad said, there's pikelets there if you want them. And there was only 6, so we had them, and then he came in last night and was like, where's all the bloody pikelets? And we'd eaten them.
I like that this has now gone across 2 of our video calls over multiple days, this pikelet issue.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
I honestly don't think it needs the airtime, but I guess the world now knows Cane Dogs is a pikelet hog.
Yeah, so cinema dick, my dad.
Cinema dick, pointer. All right, I watched this with my housemate, and it was a pleasant time to be had. And in fact, it has inspired us to rewatch the Star Wars movies.
And that's exactly what it should do.
Episode 4, 5, and half of 6, and we're going to skip the prequels and go into the episodes. Well, I don't know if we're going to do that.
Maybe.
Are you going to watch Solo or Rogue One?
I think we've only got like 2 days left of Disney Plus. So I actually wouldn't mind watching Rogue One again, just as a side note. I think I need to give Rogue One another chance.
Just for the Darth Vader scene.
But especially like watching that the first ever shot of Star Wars, which is, obviously the what happens right after that scene. So, yeah, definitely. Cool. I think we should head on into spoilers. Sound the alarm.
Oh, what a cool sound effect, Angus. Mail.
All right, we are in the spoiler section where we dissect and divulge everything about the film.
I always forget that there's a bit that comes before that.
You've been warned, so if you don't want anything spoiled, bugger off. And definitely come back and see us after you've binge-watched it all. We are talking about The Mandalorian. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, we're going to see...
what's in the box?
Mail.
What? Oh, man.
I said box. It's really hard. It's really hard when I don't have the sound effects in front of me.
That's so good. Please keep it like that.
What's in the mailbox? Lads, anything in the mailbox from you guys today?
We got one. You know what? I won't read it out, but there's someone who's messaged us that wants to do like a bit of a collaboration with us. So that's in the pipeline. That's all I got there.
Excellent. So we got something in the pipeline that we can't say yet.
There's something firmly in my pipeline.
Remember, there's something in your pipeline. Okay, so there's something in Cane Dogs' pipeline.
Yeah,
we got a few likes on Instagram, but that's about it. But we do have one request.
People are acting
which
like
I'm
it's
super
old news.
excited for. It's one request for the Films Live podcast. Followers and likes for free. Free flame emojis. Ooh, completely free, up to 30,000 followers and 5,000 likes to all your posts. For details, go to our main page. Wow. This seems like a very genuine person, and I will talk to them later.
100% get on that. Everybody else get on it too.
Yes, I'm sure they also liked The Mandalorian. Sweet, that was
what's in the
mail.
Mail.
Box.
Box. All right, let's get into it. The Mandalorian. Just to give a bit of preface to this, we are going to talk about the series as a whole. Originally, we were just going to do the first two episodes, like we did Tiger King. However,
Angus watched
we've
it
all
all.
seen it, so we're just gonna put a spoiler alert for the whole season. Most positive things about the Mandalorian series. Who would like to go first?
I can.
Go for it, Broadman.
I'm just going to jump straight into the visuals. The whole design of the show, all of the cinematography, and the colours are excellent. They're very similar to the work on Solo, A Star Wars Story, which I absolutely loved the visuals for that. So, and these are very, very similar in style, and so that's one of the best parts of the show, including, and also the theme song is amazing. It's very, very unique. You hear it and it's like, that's Mandalorian, that can't be anything else. And I think, I love those two parts of the show.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing that Star Wars has always done really well is the music, and I think that's probably going to be like my main positive is Broadman. As you said, it's very iconic in its own way, and it's very distinct. Like you can't, like even with Star Wars, like if you're not a massive fan of Star Wars, you might mix it with like Indiana Jones or that kind of stuff. But yeah, the Mandalorian, and it kind of uses, I'm not even sure what kind of instrument it is, but it's kind of like a flute.
It's a bass recorder.
Yeah, right, a bass recorder.
It's a really weird instrument,
Yeah, something that you normally wouldn't find in an orchestra, but they utilize it awesomely, and it's super iconic. Yeah, definitely. K-Dogs, I was
going to say, a part of achieving the visual style for this film, they use this really cool new technology where basically they made all of the sets digitally, and they all just exist in computers, and then they've got a really weird set which basically has
it's like a massive
screens
dome
everywhere. It's kind of like there's a dome, and some of them is just this huge kind of screen in the background, and the screen and the camera work together, and so whatever's in the background moves when the camera moves to make it look like it's actually moving in real life. But whereas the actors are just standing in what's similar to a green screen room, they're just standing in a room with none of the props, none of the room, and then the entire background is lit up by the room, and that actually works with the lighting of the set. So all of the reflections in all of the glass parts of the helmets and all of that sort of stuff, all the reflections of the top of people's heads and stuff like that work because that light is actually in the space using the new tech. And
that's super cool, but
it's
also
absolutely outstanding.
I imagine that the actors would probably get like motion sickness, right? Like if the camera's doing like movements and everything and the background's moving along with it.
Maybe,
surely,
but it's got to be so much better than actually on a green screen. Actually being able to see all this stuff.
True.
And
that's true.
One thing that allows them to do is to make these shows really quickly and really cheap.
And
so they were able to keep the cost for this show way down because they didn't have to build all these sets. They just had to build them in digital space.
And the other great thing about that is, unlike if they're on a green screen, if there's like a creature behind them and they're meant to react to it or something in a green screen scenario, they don't know what they're looking at. Whereas in this, it happens in real time along with their acting, so they can react to it immediately.
Good for all those like facial reactions that you see from the
helmet?
Mandalorian who wears the helmet the whole fucking time.
But even still.
K-Dogs, what's your most positive thing about the Mandalorian?
My most positive thing is something that I think the last 3 Star Wars films have sorely missed, which is at this point with Star Wars, you kind of need to mesh it with a different theme or tone to have something that isn't just fan service of Star Wars. And my example that I'm going to use is for The Mandalorian, it's a Western. Like, it's The Mandalorian, but they've clearly mixed that up with a Western. So it's got a Western tone, a lot of shots, a lot of things that happen in it feel and look like a Western, and that's obviously on purpose. And if you take that out, you've got a lot of things that are Star Wars, but everything Star Wars at the moment kind of feels just fan service or recycled themes or recycled references to characters, and it all feels cheap. But once you mix it with another tone and a theme, and you just take the bits that work from both of those things, and you're actually going to create something that feels new.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Like, I think that's kind of the essence of Star Wars as well. Like, Star Wars is kind of, in a way, a rehashing of, like, samurai movies and the Kurosawa era. And so it's kind of, using that similar thinking in this kind of newer age Star Wars.
And, like, I'm a massive, like, Western fan. Like, you guys know that, and like, you guys are as well. But taking something like this... You guys
should see his boots.
Taking something like this and giving it that Western theme and having it open with like a saloon bar fight reminded me of things like Firefly and all of those cool stuff. It did exactly what Star Wars should do, which is it felt familiar. It felt really familiar, but I didn't know everything that was going to happen, and it wasn't like I'd seen everything before. It did what it kind of like Stranger Things, like it hit that nostalgia chord just really well.
Mm-hmm.
Without feeling like it
comes
pushed
down
too
to
hard.
Better thought out writing.
Yeah, absolutely. That, and I'm going to go ahead and say the outfits are my other main positive. The character design of the Mandalorian and all the other characters, and Baby Yoda's taken off as like a fucking phenomenon. But it just, the whole show, not just with the setting and the lighting and all of those things, but the actual outfits, phenomenal. They look awesome.
Yeah. I think the costumes look awesome as well. For sure. I think before we go into our negatives, just one more positive that I had. I just wanted to chuck in there, and it's something I've brought up on like probably some of the last 3 or 4 podcasts, but so adjacent to the Mandalorian, I should actually point out that my housemate said we should watch the Mandolin. So kind of a different vibe, but
we should all after this have a Mandarin.
No, so one thing that I did want to point out, and it's adjacent to the series, but it's again like one of those kind of inspiring things, like in the episode where we talked about our favorite isolation movie, and me and Bro both chose Lord of the Rings, and like one of my arguments was that it had all those special features and stuff, and if you have Disney Plus, there is actually kind of an adjacent series, like an 8-piece series on the creation of the Mandalorian, and it kind of looks at different aspects, so like the director, and it looks at the sets, and it looks at the costumes and everything. And I've only watched the first 2 episodes of that, but again, watching that and watching the behind the scenes and watching everyone that works there is obviously like in love with Star Wars, and they feed off of each other's fandom of the series. So and they really enjoy it, and then watching them kind of create something so close to their heart and putting all that effort into it, it's really awesome to watch, and it's really inspiring, and it kind of makes you want to go out and make movies and make TV series and stuff. So it's really cool. So the one that I watched was about the directors. So I don't know if you guys know, but it had quite a lot of directors. I think it had like 6 directors.
The guy that did Iron Man.
Yeah, so it had John Favreau. John Favreau, he organized it all. He kind of helped the directors direct it, but there was kind of an all-star cast of directors. So they each kind of had their own episode that they did. So you've got Taika Waititi directed one. Bryce Dallas Howard, who you'll know from Jurassic Park, the new Jurassic Park movies. She did one. Dave Filoni, who's a massive nerd, definitely check him out. Rick Famuyiwa, and Deborah Chow. They all kind of have their own unique take on what it should be. And I guess, I don't know if you boys saw this, but every episode did kind of seem kind of different, in, like stylistically.
Absolutely.
Like they're treating the same characters, but they're all kind of, I would akin this more to like short films as opposed to a TV series in that kind of a respect, because they are super different. And if you do kind of binge watch them one after the other, it is I guess a touch jarring. But yeah, again, and it's cool to see, I guess, an insight into what I guess a television series does as opposed to a movie, where like, you know, a movie kind of has that one pivotal point of a single director, or like, you know, a couple of directors, whereas this has got directors for different episodes, which I found pretty interesting. Having said that, let's go into our negatives. Broadman, did you want to kick us off again?
Sure thing. I'm just going to jump in there with basically the overall writing and plot, maybe. I think that this show is a good show. I don't think it's a great show. I enjoyed my time with it, but since I watched it again with my dad because he wanted to watch it, but I didn't really want to watch it a second time. I didn't really have any interest in watching this a second time through, mainly because of the writing, and I felt like after the first 2 or 3 episodes, it just fell into kind of regular American TV kind
Monster of the Week
tropes, Monster of the Week type of stuff, and it's just a bit of a letdown for me. I was expecting this to be kind of, you know, more of a serial show, like a Game of Thrones, which has a through like plot line through the entire show. Everything leads on to the next episode. But this show, it felt like, especially that like middle chunk of the show, it just felt like you could have rearranged any of those episodes and it would have made a difference. And that was kind of a problem with me, because it means you just lose out on character and you lose out on any sort of development of the story. And I kind of felt like we finished this season pretty much the same point as where we started it. You know, there was like some characters died or whatever, but they were still just kind of like on that same planet and they were all kind of there. And there was just a bunch of characters where I didn't really know why they were helping each other out. And so it was just a bit of a letdown for me as like the series went on. But
yeah, definitely.
I think hopefully in the second season, they can just like run with it and make it a great show. But at the moment, it's just kind of like they're bringing so many people. They're bringing in,
I don't know if that'll be good or bad.
They're bringing in a bunch of people. I bring a bunch of people from Clone Wars and from Star Wars Rebels as well. A bunch of characters are coming in. I think Katie Sackhoff, who's big from Battlestar Galactica, and she has a character in the Clone Wars. She's coming in. She's playing her character that was in the Clone Wars. So there's a bunch of stuff coming in, but don't know how good it's going to be.
Yeah, and I think ultimately that's one of the biggest problems that they face with having so many directors. There's too many cooks. You don't really have that kind of follow through
on Jon Favreau's part.
Yeah, or too many chefs. Yeah. I totally agree. I think the point that it kind of lost me was there was an episode, and it was kind of like a heist episode where they're breaking one of
with Richard
Mando's,
Ayoade,
breaking out one of Mando's old heist.
It kind of
buddies.
felt like an episode from a different series of the show.
Yeah. I don't think it quite fit with. I think the rest kind of meshed fairly well, but then, and like I'm not sure if it was a problem. Like it was definitely different, and it kind of caught me off guard. So it was interesting for that first time. But I think Broadman, you said it well, where it's like on that rewatch where you know it's coming, it doesn't really fit in. And I guess like one of the best things about rewatching something is finding like through points that you didn't really recognize there were at the first time you viewed it, whereas because these are so different, it's kind of it's not as easy to do that.
I've rewatched Firefly, and I don't know how many times since I first saw it when I was like a kid, and I don't think I'll ever rewatch the show. And if I do rewatch this, I know I'm going to be skipping episodes. I'm going to be skipping that episode that you just talked about with the heist on the prison ship. I'm probably going to skip. I know there's probably the episode on Tatooine with the woman assassin who they just kind of kill off, who could have been an interesting character.
Yeah,
like I'm going to skip that episode. Not very interesting. I'll probably only watch the first 2 and then the last 2 maybe. And that's if I feel like rewatching it, which at the moment I still don't. And it's been almost 6 months since I watched it the first time.
Yeah. Fair cop. Cane Dogs, worst thing about The Mandalorian?
I mean, look, you guys have touched on the main ones. I think, as you were saying, Angus, there's a lot of directors and too many cooks. And the problem with that is it's really hard to put your finger on a theme. In each episode, because I watched them all, like, back to back for the first time. And it's really jarring each episode, as you said. And it's not just the style, but even there's one episode in there where it's sort of a like a Magnificent Seven save the town type deal, where he's on a planet and this group of people that like just live peacefully on the planet are being attacked by just like another group. And all the episodes, as we mentioned earlier, they're all about 30 minutes. That one's nearly an hour to an hour and 15 minutes or something ridiculous like that. And I remember just getting there and being so like I hadn't paced myself for that kind of thing. Everything was a lot slower. And then the next episode, I think, is the one that Brody just mentioned with the female assassin. And then random, like, Richard Ayoade and Bill Burr episode, which was, like, took me out of the universe immediately because I recognize them both so distinctively. And then, like, smash cut to the end where just they introduce the villain in the last two episodes and then kill him. And it's just because of that, because there wasn't a running theme, as you guys have already touched on this, but it's so much of it is so not forgettable, but it's just useless for the point of the show.
It's messy.
It's a
mess
cut
of
out,
spaghetti.
as Brody said, you can pretty much cut out most of the season, and you still have the same thing. And I think
I just looked it up. That planet episode goes for 41 minutes.
41 minutes. It
so it goes for
like
10 minutes longer than the rest.
Both times I watched it, both times I paused it halfway through and did a different thing and came back to it. But it's just because of that, it loses so much momentum where there could be great storytelling elements. That, and I think the other main weakness is I really enjoyed when they announced it, I was like, okay, they're just going to do Boba Fett, but they can't call him Boba Fett because they don't want everyone who's a fan of Boba Fett to be like, he wouldn't do that. So I was really happy for the first two episodes where he wasn't Boba Fett. He didn't have like crazy impenetrable armor and a jetpack and all of this. He had some stuff, but he was like raggedy and scrappy. And I really liked that. And then I disliked that as they went on, they just made him Boba Fett. And now he's got the jetpack and all of that. And they're just going to keep doing it. And so that's kind of frustrating for me because I don't want a Boba Fett show. I want the Mandalorian, you know?
Yeah, I guess that kind of comes into my main negative is I don't think that for the most part, like I know Cane Dogs, you were kind of super excited to hear about this TV show, The Mandalorian, but I don't think that The Mandalorian has enough legs to kind of go past this point. I think as a side character is awesome and it's really cool, and like Star Wars does it a lot where they kind of bring in these side characters and don't flesh them out so that you then can. It kind of allows your imagination to roam wild. The problem that happens with creating TV series like The Mandalorian is that it's kind of filling in those gaps that you don't want. And we saw it with Solo as well.
Exactly.
Filling in those kind of blank spots that you kind of prefer to be unfilled, if that metaphor makes sense at all.
It does,
I just don't think that The Mandalorian kind of has enough legs and to kind of go further than what it has. And like, don't get me wrong, like I enjoyed the series. I probably won't watch it again, but it was good fun and it was great to be back in the world of Star Wars. And I think if you want to get back into the world of Star Wars, The Mandalorian is an awesome place to be. The only problem is, like, I mean, the guy wears a helmet, and I know that's his shtick, and like he's never going to take off his helmet. But there's only so much you can kind of show emotion-wise in that, and it kind of fell a bit flat for me, and I couldn't really connect with him at all. And like, you understand that this is a warrior race and everything, but once you've understood that that's his shtick, is that he's a fighter, there's not a lot else that you can do with that. So that, and I think the writing, I think Broadman, you touched on it a bit before. The writing was a bit lackluster and it was very kind of TV-esque writing. Like there was one point that I really cringed where it's kind of coming up to the ultimate fight where they come back and the Mandalorian's like he's collecting his friends from all the past adventures in order to come over, and he sees this.
You son of a bitch! I'm in.
I literally said, I was like, Rick Sanchez, you son of a bitch, I'm in. But it was, I think, it was the what do they call it? The shock trooper, the rebel shock trooper.
Yeah.
And the Mandalorian came in and talked to her, and she's like, "Nah, I'm not gonna do it. Whatever you say." And then he's like, "It's the Empire. They're back." And she's like, "I'm in." I'm like, it was just super clunky.
It's like a Year 12 media film.
Just like little bits like that just kind of made me like cringe a little, and it was kind of awkward. But plus, again, like,
there's a similar part to that where in the first episode, I have no idea why the Mandalorian chooses to save the kid. It's like, it's a cute kid. We all find it really cute, but he's like a bounty hunter, and I feel like everyone kind of skipped past that. And I would love it if there was some sort of backstory into why he doesn't want to kill this kid, because, you know, maybe there was this other time where he did bring a kid and he thought it was going to live, and then they killed the kid and he felt bad. But we didn't get any of that from the first season. And so he kind of saved this kid, and he's just one of those things where it's like, I feel like he saved that kid because the audience wouldn't want him to hurt the kid, not because the character would want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And I mean, let's face it, like, Baby Yoda is 100% a cash grab. It's just to make more toys and more plush toys and all that kind of stuff. They, like, the only thing that I kind of saw in that Broad where, you know, like, maybe there was something in his past that, you know, made him want to save this kid. And the only thing that I kind of found was that he was also a kid. That's kind of the thing that they get on flashback. And
what a coincidence!
You know, everyone's kind of been a kid before. But
I'm also a little disappointed that he's just human as well. I mean, in Star Wars, there are so many alien races.
Yeah, exactly.
I was hoping they wouldn't remove the helmet, because then you could make up what he looked like. He could be anything.
Mm.
Yeah, and again, like it's the problem with filling in the steps. Ultimately, I think the worst part is, of course, Baby Yoda. It's cute for a second, and then after it, you're just like, I don't think this is a necessary part. Like,
I like Baby Yoda because it helped me convince my girlfriend to keep watching.
Which ultimately, that's probably why it's been put in, right?
It's also one of those weird things where it's like, that is going to be a Baby Yoda for the entire show, no matter what, because of how slow that race ages. So it's like, it's not like we're even going to get, you know, a grown up, whatever that species is called. It's like, that's just going to be a baby, because it's going to be there for the entire show. They're never going to kill it off. And they're never going to get rid of it. That's there for as long as the show is there.
It'll also be super confusing when they finally, like, name it or do... Because at the moment, it's technically in the show. It's never Baby Yoda. It's called The Child. And the fandom is just taken to calling it Baby Yoda. But now that now that everyone calls it Baby Yoda, anytime they're like, yeah, we found his family, this is his name, people are going to be like, no, it's not. It's Baby Yoda.
No, it's Baby Yoda.
Like, that'll confuse... It'll confuse so many people, because I reckon there's a decent, ridiculously large number of people out there that think this is Baby Yoda, that haven't figured out how the continuity of this fits with the Star Wars universe yet, that honestly think this is a prequel and this is Baby Yoda. So, they've tied themselves into a knot there a bit.
Yeah, I honestly don't think it's going to have a lot of legs past this point. But, I mean, it was fun for what it was. I think, Sweet, I think we shall end it there, lads. We've been talking for quite a while about Baby Yoda, and I think we don't need to give him any more time on the internet, so we'll leave it there. Sweet. If you guys have anything you wanted to say on Baby Yoda or The Mandalorian or anything in general on Cane Dogs, let us know. Write in at Film Slice Pod on Instagram, Dogs. Film Slice Podcast on Facebook, and message Baby Cane Dogs. We're working on plush toys at the moment of Baby Cane Dogs. So if Baby Yodas are all out of stock, maybe wrestle yourself a Baby Cane Dogs instead, and I'm sure that won't give you nightmares for the rest of your life. Awesome. Thanks, lads. I shall see you next week, where we review something else. No idea.
Something else.
Let's just keep doing this podcast, I guess. All right. I'll see you next week. Everyone, stay safe. Love ya. Bye.
Bye.
Well, young travelers.